Why would you freeze your butt? You might get pissed on that in some time. Hi guys, so let's talk about puffer today, how to choose the most universal puffer for the majority of the body types. Something that would be modern, very practical, very warm, something that would look good on women of any age, any height, any style preference, and any size. If you already have a puffer and that works for you, you don't even have to watch it. If it keeps you warm, that is the most important thing. Now, I have a great video about winter style for the body types where I talk about key body types. It's very interesting. First, let's talk about length. Short puffers are quite trendy just recently, but is it practical enough? If you're going out and it's cold, why would you freeze your butt? If the puffer is up to your hip level, it's already better. If you just go and sit in your car, it's probably a bit more comfortable than going with something very long. And these puffers normally go with the belt or without the belt. They can be just straight. Knee length, however, is not looking very good. Sometimes they make it too narrow at the waist area and it just looks not cool enough, not expensive enough. It can look weird or dowdy, especially with belt or especially when it's made in a silhouette with waist. 10-15 centimeters below the knee is also a very good length, very practical. And then there also can be ankle length. It normally looks like a blanket. It's not looking very good with more classy and elegant outfits. It's a bit more funky. It looks great with Uggs, with beanie. So in my viewpoint, the most universal length is 10-15 centimeters below the knee. That is the perfect length. It's going to be very warm for you. It's very comfortable to walk in and it's not looking like a blanket. Now let's talk about the silhouette. Best silhouette is straight silhouette. If you want waist emphasis, you just can add a belt on top of that straight puffer. Sometimes they make puffers with waist. Those look quite dowdy and slightly old-fashioned. They look a bit cheaper. Now let's talk about collar. The most practical collar is the collar that is covering your neck, which is very straight, not soft, not banded. And then the hood is normally attached on the back. And hood is also best if it's not very large, that looks slightly like a helmet. This way it will really cover your whole head, your ears. If the hood is too big, it's not gonna keep the warmth of your head in there. Sometimes lighter puffers have the lapels. It's not very practical just because if it's really cold, the turtleneck, the scarf might not save the situation. Sometimes they do fur on the hood. Some women like it. In my viewpoint, it's just two elements that don't fit to each other in one close piece. Stylistically, it's like combining Chanel jacket and cargo pants. You can't wear these two pieces in one look. Both of them are great, but together, not working. Same thing with a puffer. Fur is a natural thing. Puffer is an unnatural thing. Some people say it's warmer like this. Not really. If you're buying a puffer with a good stand-up collar, which is not too large, and a certain shape of a hood that was created anatomically specifically for the head, you're not gonna have that problem. It's not going to be less warm than with fur. Also different kinds of collars, like too interesting, too big, too small, too irregular, too asymmetrical. All that might be interesting, but it's not very practical, and also it's not gonna be stylish several years in a row. You might get pissed on that in some time, so you probably want to choose something a little bit more symmetrical and calm, and this way it will last longer. If we talk about sleeves, sometimes they make it super interesting and they make sleeves with different color or different fabric. If we talk about the puffer that's gonna last longer, just choose the puffer with the same sleeves as the base of the puffer. Sometimes they make sleeves short and actually very short. It was a short trend some time ago, but it's very much not practical because if it's cold, it's cold. So the best sleeves for a puffer would be if you bend your arm in the elbow, it should still cover your wrist. And preferably it should have a band or something that would be very sleek around your wrist. It will save your arms from cold air and it's very practical. Stitches. Normally they do stitches evenly apart from each other just because the feeling of the puffer, whether it's dawn or some synthetic filler, it has to be spread evenly all around your body. Sometimes they try to do something extremely interesting and do this diamond stitches, chevron, triangular, small rectangular, diagonals, or even flowers sometimes. All that is cheapening the look normally. It's not that piece of a clothes that you really want to decorate. It's like I told about the t-shirt and the rhinestones on the t-shirts. Rhinestones look amazing in the evening. It's an evening decoration. It looks amazing with an artificial light. And t-shirt is a very daytime clothes. It's a casual thing. It's just not combining together. Same thing is with extra decoration on the puffers like that. Stitches has its own practical function. The simpler the better. If the puffer is big, it has quite large sections. So the best stitching would be whether big squares or just horizontal sections. And the puffer looks more expensive if it's well stuffed. It's almost like a decorative pillows on your house. They almost look like they're gonna explode. They're so stuffed. That normally looks more expensive. Same with a puffer. It looks more expensive if the sections are really stuffed. Also, the rule is this: the thinner the puffer is, the smaller the stitching areas can be. For example, in Uniqlo they sell these thin puffers. I have that kind of a puffer that is very comfortable. I live in Florida, but I ride electric scooter, and in winter sometimes it can be very cold wind. I just keep it in my backpack. It's very light and it doesn't take much space. It's just so nice when in the evening it's super cold and I wear it underneath my denim jackets, and denim jackets is probably one of my favorite things. It doesn't look too wintry, because in Florida many people just wear t-shirts even when it's super cold. Now, how you closing your puffer? Most often is rivets or a zipper. The more invisible it is, the more expensive and the more universal it looks. If it's rivets, they should better be in the same color as the puffer. Zipper, same thing, but it's much more practical if the zipper is covered with a separate piece of fabric. This way the wind will not go through the zipper. Sometimes even that happens. If it's a cold wind, any single hole in your clothes can let the cold air in. Sometimes they make very strange things like zippers in a different colors or diagonal zippers. So that is very interesting. It's just not gonna last you very long, and it's not a basic piece for sure. Pockets. Sometimes they add pockets on the chest or here. Sometimes the pockets are just a cut or it's attached pocket. Pockets can be with rivets, without rivets, just a pocket, or pocket with a little cover. First of all, attached pockets always make this part of your body slightly bigger. So if it's around your hips, it's gonna make your hips slightly bigger. If it's around the chest, it's gonna make your chest look slightly bigger. You should think about it. But the most basic and universal would be just the cut pockets here on the sides. It's very practical too. Let's talk about texture. Matte texture is the most universal and most basic looking. Sometimes they make it more glance surface. So if it's glance in black color, brown, orangey brown, that might look like a leather. If you want to go for that, you can, but it's not that basic anymore. But if it's a glance surface in any other color, like red or light purple, something bright, that already looks quite cheap, so you probably want to go for something more matte. And just in general, those basic colors, again, they're most universal. I'm not sure about white because it depends on where you live. In some countries you go out in white and then it's becoming gray in several hours. But of course the most practical would be navy blue, black, maybe brown, but it should be a certain type of a brown, because brown puffers can make you look a bit older. It's not good for every skin tone. It's not very fresh looking. Now let's talk about the feeling. The most expensive one is of course 100% dawn. It's very warm, but it's normally the most expensive. Then sometimes they have this mixture dawn plus feathers. It's not as dense normally and not as warm, and it's a bit cheaper, but still it's quite warm. Then it can be synthetic feeling that is called bio dawn. So it's same warmth as dawn. It dries faster. It doesn't clump into balls. It has many good qualities in it, and it pretty much acts like a real dawn, and it can handle very low temperatures. Should be also a bit cheaper than dawn one. There's tinselate. Its qualities are quite close to bio dawn, so it can handle up to -30 Celsius, -22 Fahrenheit, something like that. Then next one would be hollow fiber, and it's like polyester, but it's not as warm anymore. It can handle up to -20 Celsius probably. And then there's also padding polyester that can handle probably to -15 degrees. Only it's quite cold. It just depends on where you live. So you can always find a good option for yourself. I hope that was interesting. Let me know in the comments if you do have a puffer, if your puffer is close to what I described this time, if you want to buy something for yourself, and if you think that this one would really be a good option for you. Thank you so much, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.